everybody. So today we're going to talk about a heads-up display. So I've already loaded up lesson 11, changed this header to say lesson 12 and heads-up display. And then I'm going to go ahead and save as lesson 12. And from now on, I can do a Control S and it will automatically save as a lesson 12. You can also Control R to run from any screen. Like I could run again here with Control R, or from here I can do Control R, or from my code I can do Control R. So it's just a shortcut to run your code. So what I'm going to do is, for my heads-up display, which is just an area where we give some information to the player, like lives, score, what level you're on, maybe a timer if that's important, any pickups potentially. I'm going to have mine be up here at the top. Some of you might want one as a rectangle in the corner, or you can put yours wherever you want. So the first thing I'm going to do is add a table up here called HUD. I'm going to use capitals here, and then we're going to make an HUD function later, and that's going to be lowercase. I don't like to reuse the same variable name if I can help it. Let's go ahead and put in a couple things in our heads-up display table. First thing I'm going to add is a score. So this is going to be when my player picks up the fruit, how many fruit they've picked up. That's going to start out at 0. And then I'm also going to go ahead and put a level variable here. I know I'm going to need it eventually because I want to be able to tell the player which level they are on. That's up to you. You don't have to do that. I think it's going to be helpful. The next thing we're going to do is add a heads-up display function that actually makes the heads-up display. So I'm going to go to the last thing that I did, which was collect fruit. I'm going to add a function, HUD, lowercase this time. And then I'm going to end my function so I don't forget later. All right, so in this function, I'm going to start by drawing a rectangle. And to draw a rectangle, the command is RECT. And then the rectangle takes quite a few different inputs. We're going to focus on 5. Sounds like a lot. But the first 2 are just the upper left-hand corner, so 0, 0 for me. And then the next 2 are the lower right-hand corner, or the width and the height of the rectangle. So my width is going to be 240. That's the whole width of the screen. And my height, I'm going to try 10 and see how that looks. The 5th input is the color that we want the rectangle to be. And when I hover over these colors down here at the top, it's going to tell me the color number. I'm going to do pink for now, just so I can see where my rectangle is. Later, I'm probably going to turn my rectangle black because I like the look of that. But you'll see it's hard to tell where the rectangle is if you use black right away. So I'm going to use color 3. And then before this function will run, I have to call it using its name up in the TIC function. So I'm going to go up to the TIC function. And then I want the heads-up display to be over the map. So I'm going to do it after the map. I wouldn't want any fruits to be underneath the heads-up display. I would want it to be map, then heads-up display, then fruits. So I'm going to go ahead and put the heads-up display here. Now, that probably shouldn't matter because my fruits shouldn't be drawing up that high, but as far as the logic of what draws on top of what, this is the order that I would want. All right, so I'm going to do a Control S to save and a Control R to run. Oh dear. So it thinks that I'm missing this bracket in my, so that's a misleading error. It says that I'm missing a bracket, but really what's happened is I forgot my comma, so it thought that my table should end after score. So that's why it thought it should, have a bracket there, but I know that it needs a comma. Okay, let's try again. Control S, Control R. There we go. So I have my rectangle here. Again, if you wanted to make a different sized rectangle or put it in a different place, all you would need to do is change the upper left-hand corner and lower right-hand corner of your rectangle. Okay, so now let's add some printing to the rectangle. So one thing I'm going to want to print is the name of my game. And I've decided that the name of my game is going to be Hangry Blobby. I'm going to do it all in caps. And then the first input is always the text. The second input is the X value, and then the Y value, and then the color. Okay, so my Hangry Blobby, I'm going to try and put it down and in from the corner just a tiny bit. So I'm going to do an X of 1 and a Y of 1. And then for my color, I was thinking maybe this green. So that green is number 5. All right, so let's see what that looks like. Control S, Control R. There we go. Okay, so I can see my rectangle is a little bit too big. So let's try, it looks like maybe 8 could be good. Control S, Control R. Okay, that's looking better. So next, I want to add the level information here. So let's go ahead and add how to do that. Oh. So this has been happening to me a lot, where I am just innocently doing my coding and all of a sudden TIC-80 crashes. In the last couple days, it's been pretty bad. So that's why I am doing Control S, Control R every time, just often Control S. So let me go ahead and load back up. So we're going to print. And here I'm going to do my word level with a space. And then I'm going to add to it with these two period. I'm going to add the variable level, which is in the HUD table. So HUD is the table, dot level. And then I want it to be scooted over a bit. Not really sure how far. I'm going to put in 50 for a second. And then my Y value is still 1 down. And then what color do I want? Maybe I'll do yellow, so color 4. So when I print this, this is probably not going to be exactly right. I'm going to go ahead and do Control S, Control R. Oh yeah, see, it's in there. So when I was doing this, I thought there must be a way to figure out how wide the text is. So I went and searched in the documentation, and in this print function, there is an output that is the text width in pixels. So what we can do is actually save this. I'll say W for width. And then I'm just going to come down here to the bottom and print that W. I'm going to put it just at 0,10, just so it's kind of down and out of the way. I'm going to take this back out after I'm done figuring out all the widths that I need. And then once I know the width, I can be like, okay, it's that plus a little more will give me this number. Okay, so I'm going to Control S, Control R. So it's telling me that my title here is 77 pixels wide. So maybe something like 85 might look good. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and put a comment over here that this is 77 pixels. All right, Control S, Control R. All right, that's looking pretty good. Depending on how things space out later, I may come back and add some more space here. But right now it's looking pretty good. I'm noticing that my cherry here is up inside my table. So because I've kind of taken this top border down a little bit more, I would probably want to look at my random location function. And in here, this is where I'm choosing the random location for those fruits or for anything that goes on the screen. So math.random. So my Y value starts at 4. And I've added a table that's 8 high, so probably 12 would be a good value to change that to. Let's go back to our HUD function. This time, I'm going to go all the way to the right. So you could do it just like this. You could say lives, ... and then the number. or lives equal ... and then it would be blobby.lives. But I'm going to do it a little bit differently. I'm going to use hearts. So in my foreground sprites, I've added a heart, and that's going to represent how many lives blobby has left. So for this, I'm going to use a for loop. So for, I'm going to call it just num equals 1, comma, and I want to go from 1 to how many lives blobby has. So blobby.lives. So this will update every time that blobby loses a life. This will be however many lives he has. So when I finish it right now, he will have 3 lives, and so it'll draw 3 hearts. And then if he loses a life, I will take one away from blobby.lives, and that means when this loop runs, it'll run fewer times, and that'll make fewer hearts draw. So it's kind of a nice kind of automated process there. So I want to do the drawing of the heart each time that, for each blobby life, basically. So I'm going to do SPR to draw the sprite. I did not notice which number that was. 304. So the sprite number is 304. Its X value is going to be way over at the right, minus something. So it's going to be 240 minus however wide the hearts are. So I know that my sprites are 8 wide, and I have 3 of them. So it's going to be minus 24, because 3 times 8 is 24. And then I want to scoot it over a little bit more from the edge, so I'm going to subtract 1. So I could do this math and just put in one number, or I could just let the computer do it for me. So I'm just going to let the computer do that calculation for me. So that's how scooted over they are, so the X value. The Y value is going to be 1. Scoot it down 1. And then the color, oh, I don't need a color. Oh, background color is 0. So I want to make that black color transparent. So I have that 0 in there. I'm going to end the 4. I'll Control S first, Control R. 291, 4 limit must be a number. Okay, so to me that says this. It doesn't know what this is. So I may have done a different name for blobby lives, or maybe I forgot to add blobby lives in there. Let's go to TIC. I didn't add blobby lives in there yet. So let's add a comma and then lives equals 3. There we go. So now blobby knows how many lives he has. All right, Control S, Control R. There we go. Okay, so you can see here that this heart, well, there's just one of them. Actually, there's 3, but they're just all on top of each other because I've done the same starting X value for each heart. So we're going to fix that. And then I also noticed that it's a little bit further down than the text. So I'm going to actually maybe make the Y value 0 for that. So here's the Y value. I'm going to make it 0 so it's not too far down. And then here, this is my starting value. And what I want to do is for each heart, I want to scoot over 8. So I am going to add 8 times however many hearts I've done so far. This may scoot it over too much, but let's see. Num. Control S, Control R. Oh, yep, see. So because my first number is 1, it added 8 to do before it drew the first heart. So I'm actually going to subtract 8 here. At this point, maybe it's worth getting out a calculator and doing that calculation potentially. But no, I'm not going to. Okay, there we go. Beautiful. That looks like maybe, I want it to kind of be equal to here. That looks like maybe I could scoot it over a little bit more. So maybe I don't need this -1. Oh, you know why? Because my heart has an extra space here. So I don't need to scoot it over because it already has that little space built in. All right, Control S, Control R. Beautiful. Okay. And then if I was to change the number of lives that Blobby has, let's say he only has 1 life. Control S, Control R. Now it's only going to draw 1 heart. Okay. Eventually we're going to add enemies, and when Blobby touches an enemy, he will lose a life, and then this process will happen automatically. So for now, we're just going to leave it at 3. He's always going to have 3 lives, so that's fine. So next, I want to print the score. So since this is all the way to the right, I'm going to do a print score. I could call it fruits. If I wanted to, I could actually put the little fruit things up there, or I could put a fruit sprite and then the number of fruits that I had. Like, there's all kinds of ways you could do this. Now you have the tools. You know how to print a sprite at a certain location. You know how to do text and a variable. So you can figure out what you want your heads-up display to look like. So score, I'm going to do colon, space, dot, HUD, dot score. I don't really know how far over to go. I could use the width calculation if I wanted to. I'm just going to kind of guess and check on this one. So 100 over, 1 down. Color, I'll just do 3 for this one. So I'm expecting that the score will be 0. That's interesting. Oh, you know what? I think I just did my score the same color as my background. 3 is not a good choice, at least. Oh my. All right, my TIC-80 just crashed. So let me just see what has saved and what has not saved. Okay, so I still have my score. Okay, looks like I still have everything. I want to change this 3 temporarily. I'll change it to a 0. I'm going to have to remember later that I want to change the 3 to a 0 and the 0 to a 3. Okay, Control S, Control R. Okay, there we go. So now I can see that my score is way too far over here. This was 100. I'm going to try 150. So I could, again, use my width, but I don't feel like it. I'm just going to guess and check here. All right, so I'm going to try 150. Control S, Control R. Beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to leave it like this. I could work on spacing this out a little more, but I'm kind of happy with this for now. While we're here, right now, Blobby, when Blobby collects a fruit, the score does not go up. So let's go ahead and just add a little bit of code to make Blobby's score change. So when I collect a fruit, let's see, so I'm seeing if I hit a fruit. If I hit a fruit, I deactivate that fruit, and I want to add 1 to score. So HUD.score equals, capitals, equals HUD.score plus 1. All right, let's try that. Control S, Control R. Hey, oh, okay, so this is kind of a common thing that happens. If we hit a fruit, basically it's trying to do stuff as fast as it can, as fast as its computer brain can calculate things. So as I'm hitting this fruit, before it deactivates, it's giving me a whole bunch of points. So I don't want to have some semi-random number of points just as I fall through the fruit before it deactivates. So there's a way that we can fix this. So back in my code, I'm only going to allow the score to be added if F is active. So if I hit that fruit, and if it's active. Because as soon as I hit it, if I hit an active fruit, I'm immediately deactivating it. So the next time this function tries to run, I'm not going to be able to get inside this area because f will not be active. Okay, let's try that. Control S, Control R. I'm going to Control R again to get a fruit a little bit closer. There we go. And we're getting our score here. Oh. So something else I wanted to test is how far up Blobby can go. See how he's going all the way up into the header? Maybe that's an effect that you like, or maybe not. So if you didn't like that, the place that that limit happens is in check limits. So I have, for the y value, I can go all the way up to 1. So I guess it would be like 9. I added 1 plus 8. Control S, Control R. Let's double check that. Okay, that looks good. So now that I have this kind of how I want it, I'm going to go back in and change those values, and you'll see what I mean about the black. Control S. So I've changed my rectangle to black and my score text to pink. Control R, and there we go. See how it kind of just blends in and looks like it's a natural part of what's happening? I like it. Okay, so that's it for the heads-up display. Customize it however you like. You know what? I think I'm going to make Blobby start out on the ground. I'll update that for next time so that he's not collecting fruits on his fall, because that seems to happen sort of a lot, actually. Okay, so next time we're going to add enemies. They're going to be pretty simple at first, and then I'll kind of go through some ways that you can make them more complicated. All right, we'll see you then.